Hello, everybody. This is CBR Hawk One, aka Granite Hope, aka God is Good from Twitter. Another episode of The Big Shocker. The title of this one, as promised in my previous video, is The War on Poverty. Has it worked? You're about to hear some shocking facts that you're not going to hear many other places. Because, unlike the media, unlike left wing blong stupidity, I go by the numbers and the numbers alone because the numbers tell a more fantastic story than any Looney Tune can ever come up with. Now, before we tackle the war on poverty basically is this. Like in 1964, Lyndon Johnson declared a war on poverty. Now, I'm going to foreshadow something here. Poverty rate when he said that was 17%. Poverty at the time he said this was already going down significantly. We used to have huge poverty. Even in the post war economic boom, we had a lot of poverty. Poverty was in the 20s and 30%. You know, but we're about to see how well it's worked. Now, first of all, we're going to look at basically the liberal solution to this problem, and that is more entitlements, give more to the poor, and it will come back. You know, a lot of them will even make an economic argument saying that this helps the economy, but we won't get into that one. The important point here is to look at the correlation between entitlement spending and the poverty rate of the United States. Now, first of all, we're going to look at what the government has done over the years with entitlement spending. This chart right here, if I can highlight it. That chart is government spending as percentage of the budget. And basically around here, because here's 1970, around here will be 1964. So this was Lyndon Johnson's war on poverty. And as you can see, you know, here's 2010 right here. I think this thing was made in 2010, and then it kind of forecasts the future, but we're looking at the actual numbers. I'm not. Basically, it doesn't matter because we all know poverty or entitlement spending has increased. These charts are just going to give you a rough idea. And here is the same chart as percentage of GDP. A lot more extreme of a story, if you will. Once again, war on poverty started right about here. And then, as you can see, entitlements as a percentage of GDP balloon. So, okay, all these entitlements, poverty should surely go down because the government's spending money. The government's spending money non-stop. So, how has our government done as compared to the private sector? The working people who pay taxes for these programs. How is it done? Look at this bottom chart. Now, here, let me get my sophisticated straight edge here. Sophisticated, non-sophisticated. Okay, now here's 1964, this little line right here next to print. As you can see, poverty rate when he said this is about 17%. We were in the 20s previous to that. You know, even Eisenhower really couldn't fix the problem, and Kennedy being in office. But anyhow, war on poverty about 17%, about right here. Look what it's done. Now, keep in mind what you just saw right here. This goes up, this stays relatively the same. It hovers between 11% and 15% for all eternity. Never goes above 15, never goes below 11. So, take home message here. Has the increase in entitlement spending worked? No. It hasn't. Now keep in mind, I'm in favor of safety nets. I'm not going to claim immunity from that. Yeah, I'm totally in favor of safety nets, but you have to look at reality. Reality shows that it's not having the impact that Democrats want it to have. It's not decreasing poverty. It's not doing any better than what the private sector did previously. The only thing you can say is poverty hasn't gone up. But war on poverty, you'd think poverty should go down, right? It hasn't. So here's what I'm saying. And this goes back to every video. And yes, I'm going to repeat this until it is a broken record. If you want to fix the system, if you want things to change, if you want to advance things for the better, you have to stop relying on propaganda. You have to have a solutions oriented mindset and look at the data that I have just posted to you and other pieces of data that I can post. So, your take home message is rely on the facts, rely on the data, trust no one, trust no media, trust no politician, trust no friend you're talking to. Look at the data and make sure the data is on firm ground and that the data is bias neutral. It's not subject to alterations that can subject it to biases. But you have to look at the numbers. And not just look at the numbers, use the numbers. If somebody tries to quote something inaccurate, this is your power right here. Right here. The biggest argument you can make. You can't argue with history. You can't argue with numbers. Numbers are numbers. They have no bias. So, if you want things to really change, and I mean really change, start relying on this and stop relying on typing and saying nonsense. Thanks for listening.